Well, good evening. Happy holidays and welcome. May peace be with each of you. May your hearts open. May your mind be clear and awake. May you receive fully what's here. And so I welcome you tonight and I invite you to be blessed a million times over. And so let me just share a couple of announcements. Our next in-person retreat will be in Washington State, January 15th through the 18th. And there's a small number of spots left if anyone's interested. A very small, intimate retreat. I'm really looking forward to being in the Pacific Northwest again. In addition to this, we will be at the Shivananda Ashram in the Bahamas, March 29th through April 2nd. Very much looking forward to that because all of a sudden it got very cold here in Colorado all of a sudden. It's like winter has descended upon us today. It's a really cold day today. And so, anyways, I hope you're in a good place and you're nice and warm and cozy. I'm going to invite you to shut down your eyes and to begin by breathing deeply and fully. And just softening throughout the body, taking a moment and have some gratitude for the grace of God, for the innocence and the purity of your own heart. Gratitude that we can come together in this way. And so as we begin to breathe more deeply and fully, let us let go of the day. Let go of any busyness of mind. And arrive here fully and completely. Breathing in and breathing out. And giving yourself permission to step out of the habitual context of the mind. And taking this backward step. And choosing to be here in this moment, awake, aware, peaceful, and free. And to make this choice, we really have to surrender the habit of the mind, to put a boundary around getting entangled in thought and getting entangled in the past or the future. And the invitation of satsang is to recognize this essential innocence. An innocence deeper than thought, deeper than emotion. It's the fundamental fabric of the heart, the fundamental fabric of your nature. And so I hope you will smile and join me in this recognition that what you are is divine. And I invite you to feel this divinity. to experience it directly. So yes, breathing in and breathing out. And experiencing what is beyond thought, beyond emotion. And so as we turn awareness upon itself, I invite you to share with the Sangha what your experience is. So you can write it in the chat, like, what is it that you are? That is prior to thought, prior to emotion, prior to personality. What's here that cannot be taken away? And so as we're breathing in and breathing out, and Justina here in the Sangha, she shares, she is a shiny Christmas tree. Yes, and this is what it feels like when we step into our divinity. We feel lit up, like this column of light, radiating beauty and innocence. Terry shares a boundless openness. What is it that you are? Kyle writes, a silent bomb of divinity. I'm glad you guys are having fun here. Yes, yes, this bomb, like a massive explosion of divinity. Beautiful. A Blair is infinity. Yes, our nature, it spreads, it expands across the horizon. Catherine writes, I feel like fresh air at the bottom of the ocean. Yeah, this is beautiful. This is beautiful. I like them. I like that we're being creative tonight. A breath of fresh air, the bottom of the ocean. This is what it feels like to be awake in this world, a world of confusion, and darkness, and chaos. And when you come into contact with the awakened one, they are like a breath of fresh air. This divine radiance, it feels the opposite of being claustrophobic. Lauren shares vast, impersonal, infinite field of radiant light. Yes. And so together we're opening. David Morris shares the fiery sweetness of the heart, the center of all of life. Yeah, so beautiful. Well, thank you all. Now, Terry adds never ending completeness. And so I welcome you. I welcome you to Satsang. I welcome you to this moment. And it's such a beautiful thing to come together and commune in the light. Somehow this week, being Thanksgiving week, I found myself at a unusual amount of church services. I think I made it to 3 um, at least 3 masses this week. And we're having a nice time just being at the church and being in sacred communion with others. And so it's such a gift. It's such a gift when I look out at our world and just see how crazy it is. And when we show up in a space of satsang, when we show up on retreat, we show up in our weekly groups. It's like Catherine shared, it's a breath of fresh air. Breath of fresh air. Every time I looked at my computer this week or the TV, it's like every different kind of sale and offer, and everyone's just trying to get you to plug into their program. Spend, money on buying more and more needs. If any of you saw Dr. Seuss's The Lorax, humanity started selling needs. The needs are things you need. If someone tells you need. But through this massive consumption, we destroy our planet and we overwhelm our lives. And it's such a gift to be able to step away, to walk away from the insanity of it all. And simply to allow ourselves to be silent, to be open, to be carefree. One of these days, I don't know if it was Thanksgiving or maybe it was Black Friday. I don't like calling it Black Friday, but the day after Thanksgiving, I went out and for going out for me is going out in the woods and went on a nice mountain bike ride and spent some time in the mountains, spent some time alone, just detoxing. And I think a lot of us, we need this. We need to detox after we've had just so much input. And as the weather gets cold, we tend to have a lot more screen time and a lot more time inside. And this body temple of ours, this body that God has given us, it's meant to be outside. It's meant to have big periods staring at the sky, staring at the stars, walking in nature. My my youngest daughter, she saw this. She was watching something on TV, and I think it was like a movie from the 90s or something. I can't even remember what it was, but they showed all these kids going to the mall, and she said, "Dad, have you ever been to a mall?" I was like, "Yeah, I've been to a mall. I went to a mall when I was a kid, and in suburban Ohio, like that's what a lot of kids did. They would go and they'd hang out in the mall." Fortunately, for me here in Colorado, in Durango here, we have this mall that has failed. It must have been. Um, we're all convinced that this mall, anytime they put a store in it, the store shuts down. It just like can't support a department store. But it's seen so many stores come and go, and the joke around town is it was buried. It was built upon an Indian burial ground. It is cursed. It's nice because here in Colorado, we like to spend time outside in the mountains, on the river. There's all kinds of people who are out fishing, even just yesterday, almost December, just fishing or hiking or riding bikes. And, some people trying to get up in some snow. And we need this. We need this. But when we have constant input, constant stimulus, it overwhelms the psyche, it overwhelms the nervous system. And you'll find yourself very agitated and feeling claustrophobic. And this energy of satsang is an energy where we choose, a space where we choose to come here and to step beyond the mind. And so I'm so grateful to be here with each of you. So tonight, for tonight's topic, I'd like to speak at least a little bit about spiritual maturity. And, if any of you could see my my email account and just see the types of emails I get from people, to see that there's all different levels of consciousness on the spiritual path. It's rare that you meet someone who's deeply mature. And it's common where you meet people who are, I'll be polite here, who are really confused. We're really confused here on planet Earth. A lot of confused souls. And we can smile with compassion. We've all been confused. But a sign of spiritual maturity is when we have the ability to be able to look at our own mind. And this ability to look beyond egoic identification, the ability to look beyond thought as identity, to look beyond memory and past conditioning as your identity, as the building blocks of your personality. When you have a spiritual maturity, you see what you fundamentally are. And you see that the mind and the personality is an overlay on top of this. And because of this, you have this choice to rest in this depth. And when you rest in the depth, you can see the bias of the mind, the conditioning of the mind, the tribal nature of the mind, what the mind thinks it knows when it really doesn't know, what it thinks it believes and takes to be true when it knows no truth. Because we don't know truth in the mind. We know truth in the depth of our being through experiencing the truth directly, without a philosophy, without conditioning on top of it, or in the way, or playing middleman. And so in order to have a maturity, we have to be willing to step way back and to see ourselves impersonally, and to see that we have shortcomings, we have confusion, and to really get to know, like, what makes up this personality. And like some of you have a personality that doubts. And as soon as you believe in the doubt, you become lost in the personality. You become entranced by it. One of the things that I've had, most of my life is this energy of pleasing, trying to keep everyone who I come into contact with happy. But when you see it from objective awareness, like this objective perspective, you see, you can't make everyone happy. You'll be like a dog chasing its tail. And so when we are awake, we see the tendencies of our own mind. We see the tendencies and the conditioning of the man on the TV news, and we see, oh, he's saying this because, some billionaire, some advertising company, someone has influenced him to read this script, to push this agenda. And it becomes nonsensical. When we look out at the world from this depth of spiritual maturity, we see, oh yes, the whole world is confused. And so during the holidays, as we visit with our family, it's a wonderful time for us to practice. And I don't care if you go and visit with them in person, and experience all the stress of travel and showing up and, returning home to mom and dad or sister, brother, or if you just FaceTime them, you see that's enough, to cause some reactivity in the egoic nature. And, I'm going to invite us to close our eyes and just to ask a question, to make this, to bring this into reality for each of us here. So as we connected with our family this last week, how did we do? Did we meet them with peace, with love, with kindness and compassion? Was there a vast view that was held and maintained in our interactions with them? Were we patient and caring? Or do we need to apologize, ask for forgiveness? Do we need to forgive anyone? And if so, we can do that now, just from your soul to theirs. You can say, I'm sorry, please forgive me. Thank you, and I love you. We can imagine them saying it to us, I'm sorry, please forgive me. Thank you, and I love you. And for me to you, I'm sorry, please forgive me. Thank you, and I love you. And so as we come into a greater spiritual maturity, we see that the shortcomings we see in others, well, we can find those same shortcomings within ourselves to a greater or lesser degree. Or when we are spiritually immature, often we walk around with our head up and our chest puffed out, saying, I am the awakened one. I know better. I am more awake and clear than the rest of everyone, the rest of humanity. Or if we're immature, we could also go to the flip side. I am unworthy. I'm not good enough. Everyone else is better than me. And so it's so important for us to look, to really look and see. What does it mean to be spiritually mature? Spiritual immaturity is when we live life with guilt and blame, always wanting and needing people to dance for us. With spiritual immaturity, we're always trying to get from life. Whereas with spiritual maturity, we are giving to life. We're showing up for life with compassion, with love, with peace, with space. And so I ask you, what is it that you could do? How is it that you could improve in spiritual maturity? What is it that's coming into awareness? Most of us, we really believe in the story of our mind. We take it to be the truth. And we project this falseness, this false view, onto the world. And this is why our world is at war. This is why our world still lives by the sword. And most of us are unwilling to admit that we were wrong, that we've been lied to, by our tribes, by our politicians, by the news media. Most of us are unwilling to admit this. We have a just an intersection here in my little town where kind of two highways come together, and often there's this fella out there, and he's waving this big Ukrainian flag and calling for more war and this and that. And it's always interesting when people wave flags. I mean, waving a flag can be a beautiful thing. I imagine just having a sense of pride in one's country, I think, is a good thing fundamentally. Loving where you live and supporting your country and your community. But this fella's out there, and often he's wearing like camouflage. And I wear camouflage too, but he's wearing camouflage. He's waving this big Ukrainian flag, and he's inviting more and more war. And it's like, I'm always, I'll tell people, if you want war, go off to war. Go to war and see what it's like. See what it's like. I've studied history, and one of the things I've done is I've been to a lot of battlefields throughout planet Earth. I've stood on sites with graves where 10,000 men were bulldozed into a pile. And when you stand in a grave like this, you see, war is not the answer. This is not the way. This is not the truth. And you saw this in the olden days. I'll use Saint Ignatius as an example. Saint Ignatius, before he was a saint, he wanted to experience honor and glory through going off to war. And so my daughter and I were reading this little story about Saint Ignatius. And, as a young man, this is, they didn't have TVs back in those days. And so he went off to war, and he got blown up. And so then he spent a lot of time laying in bed healing. But the story goes that he was, he wanted to experience honor. He wanted to experience glory. And again, in the olden days, they talk about these knights and going off to war and going off to the Crusades, thought that they were going to be doing this very honorable thing. But as soon as any of us set foot on a battlefield, you see, oh my Lord, this is not the truth. This is not the truth. I am sending rounds downrange to try to blow up the organs of another human being. It's a horrific thing. Horrific thing. But often we get confused. We get confused. We get lost in this world. We get confused by our emotions, whether it's the emotion of anger or the emotion of rah, 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 of nationalism. It can become an insane thing. And most people are unwilling to admit that their side is wrong. When we are spiritually mature, we look at our mind, we look at our thinking, and we say, this whole thing is wrong. Like the whole structure of this mind is wrong. It's confused. It's chaotic. It's tribal. It's attached. I could remember so many times in my life when I thought, I want you, I need you, oh baby, baby, I can't live without you. It's like the most silly thing, the most silly thing. To have this thought, to have so much feeling, so much energy, this energy of attachment, I have to possess in order to love. But that is not love. How do we say this in Spanish? Mi amor, mi amor. My love, my love. And how about I love? I am love. This is the truth. And so when we walk in the direction of spiritual maturity, what we find is there's less and less I, less and less me, and more presence. Presence of love, presence of peace, presence of humility. This great humility that can look at our very own mind, at our very own process of doubt or agitation or arrogance, or pride, or angst. We can look at all of our, when people study psychology, they study, we look at our attachment style. What's your attachment style? We look at it and we say, oh, this whole thing is wrong. And then the invitation is to step way back and to find that which is right, find that which is true as the fundamental essence of your being. And we orient from here, this perspective of depth. So utterly different than orienting from pride. I don't know if any of you have ever done this. I can remember when I was a young kid and kind of like a punk rocker and skateboarder. And sometimes I'd go through the city and I'd see just all the crazy people in the city. And I would think, oh, these are all fools. I'm better than all these individuals. I know the way. I know the way. Sheer pride, sheer arrogance, and what was my way? I don't even know what my way was then. I'm talking like when I was, 15 or 16 years old. What was my way then? Well, it was the way of the rebel, but the rebel is not a way, it's a program. Just like doubt is not your truth, it's not your nature, it's a program that lives inside the space of your essence. And the fundamental mistake that we all make is we confuse programs, egoic programs, psychological programs for what we are. And through this process of awakening, we step back, we step back, we step back. We come into the heart and we say, oh, this heart of mine is love itself, is love itself. And the great invitation is for us to share this love, to radiate this love. With humanity, with life, to be an expression of love. All of us here know how to be an expression of our personality. And the problem with being a personality is a very insecure thing. A personality is a mask that we wear. And every mask is hollow, is empty. It's insecure. I can remember this class that I was a part of, that I taught with another teacher, and when I was a high school teacher, and it was this class where we had the students make a mask, like a mask out of a paper mache, I think is what it's called. And so they'd make a mask of their face, and then they would paint it on the outside, showing the aspects of their personality and what made up their personality. And, it was funny because, these little high school boys, they'd write Tupac on it, the rapper, and, Biggie, and, on one of the cheeks. And, they might draw a mustache and like a teardrop, like they were a gangster or something. I worked with some, I had some native gangster kids. And so, this is the kind of stuff that they'd paint. If I was in the class, I'd be drawing a skateboard on it or something. Powell Peralta, the Bones Brigade, something like that. These are the things that we're into. But these things, that we get excited about, that we become attached to, they make up our personality. But the teaching was in this class, okay, the mask is the thing on the surface, the thing that you kind of share with the world, the way you interact with the outer world. But a fun activity we had was, we'd lay the mask on the table. And if you lift up the mask and flip it around, you see it's a bowl. It's empty. It's empty, literally. There's nothing behind it. There's nothing behind it. It's a sign of spiritual maturity when you can look into your personality and see, oh, this thing, this force, this program is empty. It has no inherent reality to it. And so then we ask, well, what is it that I am? And our mind always looks to objects. It looks for something solid. And so it doesn't know how to look for or at the space of awareness. But as soon as we look at the space of awareness, we become the space of awareness. And as we become the space of awareness, we see, oh, this space has been here every single moment of my life. It's the only permanent thing, is this space. It is timeless, it is eternal, it is indestructible. It does not have a name or a form or a gender or an age. And the spiritually mature one knows themselves as this great, loving emptiness. The immature one holds on to their tribal identity. And waves flags and creates division and starts wars. And that's why our world is the way it is. Because people live from a space of immaturity, a space that is fundamentally insecure. And when we are insecure, we respond to life with fear, with angst, with agitation, with irritability, with attachment. And it creates tremendous pain and suffering. And so as we head, into the Christmas season, I'm going to invite us all to truly surrender our mask, to give ourselves this gift, this holiday season, of taking our mask off, putting it down, and then looking here, right here, in the depth of the heart, and begin to discover this indwelling Christ. And you don't have to be, Christian or Catholic, to discover the indwelling Christ. The Christ is that which is awake. It's a fire of divinity. It's this fundamental aliveness. Which is compassion and love and peace and space and timeless and eternal all at once. And there's nothing we need to do to create this. It is here always. The Christ is the fabric of life. Of life. It's the fundamental universality of life. And so today, when I was at Catholic Mass, they do something with the calendar, in the Catholic Church, and so today is the first day, the first Sunday of the new year. Now, I don't know what kind of math they do or what kind of calendars. I think we all got the calendars wrong because in the olden days, I believe there was 13 months. It was like 13 months and they all had 28 days or something. But we really messed things up here, in the modern age. But there was 13 months. And so the math all worked out, and every month it had the same number of days. But anyways, I'm not going to get lost in that. I'll just acknowledge that as we go into winter, as the days are getting shorter and shorter and there's more and more darkness, I invite you to discover this radiant light within you. And so whether we're outside in the cold or at home in our warm, cozy house, I invite you to look inside and see and to discover this Christ, this light, which cannot be extinguished. And can we open to this and choose to live from this with great humility? And so the first step is to realize it yourself. The second step is to share this with the world with humility. And you share it through being kind, through listening, through letting someone else go first, through being patient, being forgiving. When we are in our mask, these things are very difficult because the mask is insecure. But when you step into the Christ, kindness is simply a byproduct. It's just how you are. It doesn't make sense to be mean or to be rushed, to be short or angry or aggressive with someone or judgmental. It doesn't make any sense. When you live in the Christ, it doesn't make any sense to be on the right or on the left. For the Christ is in everything, is everywhere. It's omnipresent. It does not judge. It looks with compassion. And so this holiday season, I'm going to really invite us to play with taking the mask off and just noticing, what is it like for me to live without this central command center of ego telling me who I like, who I don't like, being guarded and defended, being angry at mom and dad or sister and brother. Well, I'm not sure if you all have had this experience. I imagine you've had, but when you drink from the cup of forgiveness and you go and see an old friend who previously offended you or hurt your feelings, when you drink from the cup of forgiveness, it's like Catherine was sharing, it's like a breath of fresh air when you're under the ocean. When you're under the ocean. But sometimes when you see an old friend and you left on bad terms or difficult terms, and you go back and see them again, you could feel like this heaviness in the air. But if you've forgiven them, you can feel this lightness of being, this openness in your heart, and you might still feel some heaviness in the air from them, like from them coming at you with their judgment, or I'm trying to suss out the situation. Is this okay? Like, are we cool? Are we not cool? But when you come to recognize that forgiveness is such an incredible gift, such a gift you give yourself and a gift you give to this world, such a gift. And boy, is it a sign of great spiritual maturity. When you are mature, you find yourself forgiving everyone all the time, your own self included. You see, that forgiveness becomes a way of life, a way of life. But when we're immature, we have a list of people who offended us. We have a list of people that we don't talk to. We have a list of people that we want to, maybe get some kind of revenge, or we might be plotting against. If you've ever plotted against someone, it's a funny thing. It's a funny thing if you can watch your mind plot, against someone. But when we're mature, we smile, we say, oh, that is not the way. That can't be the way. I'm going to get them. I'm going to show them. It's like such a silly thing. But when you're mature, you can handle being wrong. You can handle someone correcting you, even if they're not correct. You can handle someone, making fun of you. But the mature one will respond, to belittlement with silence. It gives the other person the gift of allowing them to hear what they are saying about you and to see if it's actually true, if they actually believe it. I had someone, this was fairly recently, but someone came at me and said, Craig, you're mad at me because I'm teaching meditation classes. And I was like, what are you talking about? About laughed out loud. And he said, oh, I went and talked, to someone else about this. And they said that you are mad at both of us because we teach meditation classes. I was like, my God, this is the last thing I'm going to be angry at you about, is teaching a meditation class. But you see that people are so confused here on planet Earth. So confused. So confused. So deeply lost and their own projections, their own chaos. And sometimes when we're really mature and people come at us with their projections, you look at them like Homer Simpson, like, oh, like what kind of thing are you thinking, man? Like, what is going on in your head? Like, where did you get this idea from? Where did you get this idea from? And it's a fun thing to witness. If you ever see two people, they come together and they're both projecting, they're getting together, gossiping about you. And then one of them comes and says, me and so talked about you, and this is what we found out. And you're like, oh, okay. Okay. This is your confusion and your confusion. And by the way, I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. And I love you. I'm so sorry. I don't know what happened. I'm sorry I let you down in whatever way it was. But, peace, peace be with you. Peace be with you, old friend. Or maybe it's peace be with you. Goodbye. Sometimes it gets real messy like that. It could just be peace be with you and goodbye. Goodbye. Because people here on planet Earth are crazy. And you'll find this. You'll find all kinds of people. When we're in community, well, speak about you and they'll judge you and they'll, belittle you or offend you. And at some point, as mature beings, we have to ask ourselves, do I care? Is it, if I open my mouth, is this going to help? Is it going to make it worse? I don't know if you've ever, been in a psychological processing experience with someone where the more you talked, the worse it got. Even if you were right, just the more you defended yourself, the more you shared, the more you spoke up, the more you corrected them, the worse it got. And then at some point, we just have to say, hey, I'm going to walk away now. I'm just going to stop. I'm going to give this space and silence. I'm going to unhook from it all and I'm going to choose not to engage. And for many of us, like when we go back over the holidays and we engage with our family system, we find that, oh my gosh, they have so many stories about us, so many thoughts, so many beliefs, so many agendas, so many ideas. Oh my gosh, maybe I'm just not going to engage with this. Or maybe I'll smile and nod. I can remember my father when he was alive. My father really struggled to connect with me, but one of the ways he felt like he could connect is he would just talk to me about work and what it was that I did. But my father had a real problem because I was a school teacher for a short amount of time, like a couple of years when I was like 20 years old. I was very young. And so he got this idea in my head that I was a school teacher. And so he always wanted to talk to me about me being a school teacher. But eventually I quit being a teacher and he just kept talking to me about it and wanted to talk to me about becoming a teacher again and going back to it and this and that, because he had this idea, he had this agenda, he had this thought of this is what I should do. When I was younger, when I was 14 or 15, he did this with the military. He wanted me to be in the army. So he was always constantly talking to me about Craig being a soldier in the army. He had the recruiter calling me constantly. And, sometimes you look at someone and you see this person is crazy. They're missing the boat. They don't know how to connect. They're projecting. They're confused. They're insecure. They're socially awkward, whatever it is. And a lot of times I would just be silent and just let my father talk. Just let him talk. I tried to correct him a couple times, but he was so closed off, he couldn't hear me. He was just stuck in his projection of what his son was. And the main problem with me as a human being is I always had a hard time fitting in any box. Like I was an individual who could have been a priest, a monk. I also could have been a soldier. I could have been, and I've been a builder and done all these things. But again, I didn't fit in the box. None of you fit in the box. When life tries to put you in the box, like sometimes you just smile and you nod, and you're like, yeah, okay. You say namaste. Maybe you speak up and correct them. Maybe that's the truth. But the thing that I did not want to do was to go into my ego and get offended. You don't see me, Dad. You don't know me. And because of that, you don't love me. And now I have to be hurt. And I probably need to go to therapy and talk about it. I did go to therapy and talk about it, by the way. That's what helped me get into the vast view with it. It helped me get into the vast view and see, oh, if I want to have a relationship with my Father, it's going to begin with me forgiving him. It's not going to begin with him seeing Craig for the first time. My poor father, he was too, I'll say this, inebriated to see his son clearly. My father always had a drink in his hand, just ever since I knew him. Ever since I knew him, he was drinking when he was 14. Like he just grew up with alcohol. His father, played piano in a bar, so he grew up in a bar. And then that didn't work, and he ended up in an orphanage, and so it's just a tough situation for my father. And when you look out at life from maturity, there's a lot of I forgive you, and I forgive you, and I forgive you, and I forgive you, and you, and you, and you, and I forgive me. And as we give ourselves the gift of forgiveness, you start to radiate with love. Start to radiate with light. And you live in this silent depth. And I'll tell you, you might feel alone because you see the whole world is living in projection. They're living in tribalism. They're living in chaos and confusion. But the awakened one has always been a path that's been quite alone, quite alone. And then at some point, we join together in a Sangha, the ones who are awake, the ones who are working on being awake, at least saying like, yeah, there's a greater way than this other way. We meet here in the presence of the heart. Okay, let's hear from Kyle. Hi, Kyle.
Hey guys, good to see you.
Hey, good to see you.
I think for me, uh, an emotion that keeps coming up for me, I get stuck with is resentment towards life. I think
I am angry at life because
I feel like I don't have enough time, for like my my healing process, and then doing the things that I need to do, like to pay rent and graduate school, things like this.
okay, so let's look right now. Let's all look at this question together. Because I think we've all struggled with this the thing that the ego operates in time. It's just part of its nature. It's always reflecting upon time. And so the first thought for Kyle was, I resent life because I believe there's not enough time for me to heal. Yeah, okay. And then, for the rest of you here, I want you to look at it and see if you can find one of these ego time-based thoughts. There's not enough time for whatever it is. And so, Kyle, I'll ask everyone, is it true? Is it true, Kyle?
My ego says sort of. It's sort of true.
Well, now, come on, we're doing spiritual inquiry. So if we ask our ego will say, yeah, it's true because I live in the world of time. So, Kyle, you are here with me in this beautiful place called Colorado. And I want you to imagine just seated here. I want you to imagine being seated in my backyard and we're looking out at the mountains. And Kyle is saying, there's not enough time for me to heal. Is this the truth?
No, the truth is that there's presence, and presence is infinite.
There's presence, and presence is infinite. And in presence, is there a rush for Kyle to hurry up and heal?
No, because it really doesn't make sense because presence is healing.
Presence is healing, and presence is patient. And the reason I want you to picture yourself in my backyard is we're looking out at the mountains. So what mountains are we looking at? We're looking out at Missionary Ridge and Animas Mountain. We're seeing all these rock layers that have gone on for eons. Presence is patience. Presence is also reality. And when we step into reality, we're stepping into, I'll call it geologic time, just a lot of time, a lot of space. And you see that there's a natural order to things, and the order and the timeline may be different in the timeline that Kyle has in his head. But this is the truth. This is the truth. Now, human beings, we tend to be slow at growth. Kyle, can you get comfortable with that?
Yeah, it seems like the key is just trusting presence.
Trusting presence, trusting life, trusting this moment, trusting the ground of being, that it's all okay. Trusting that growth is happening, evolution is happening. But Kyle, when we look at this topic of spiritual maturity, what is a theme in your life where you get yourself in trouble?
Anxiety about the future.
Anxiety about the future. Thank you, sir. And I want you to see this is a theme for Kyle. Anxiety about the future. I'm always looking at things through the lens of the future. What is it that your ego thinks is waiting for you in the future?
A better life.
A better life. A better life. And this is the story of the ego. It's always selling us a better life in the future. And again, if we go to, any commercial website right now, they're going to be trying to sell us something, a better life in the future. Buy this TV, this pillow, this bed, this couch, this, Disney Plus, Hulu Plus, whatever it is, Netflix, I don't know. Buy this and it'll lead to a better life in the future. This new car give you a better life in the future. But as we awaken to the presence that you are right here, We get to have a better life right now. The cost for admission, Kyle, is surrendering the future. I want you to get this tattooed on your hands. Surrender the future. I'm glad you're laughing, Lauren. I want Kyle to laugh. I want Kyle to laugh. I want it tattooed on the palms of your hands, or the face of your hands here. Surrender the future. And so whatever you are, we all did this inquiry together. Some of us need to surrender doubt. Some of us need to surrender anxiety. Some of us need to surrender fear. For you, Kyles, can you surrender the future? Can you be here right now in your beautiful home next to the beautiful river, next to your beautiful partner here? You guys got a dog in that place?
Yep.
Beautiful dog. And be here now in this inherent beauty. So Kyle, when your mind says the future, I want you to say stop. Stop and come now into the present moment. Into this peace. The great Thich Nhat Hanh has a mantra for you. I have arrived. I have arrived. This is your mantra, my friend. I have arrived. It's peace in every step. I have arrived. Arrived. Can you be this peace? Can you be this space? Can you be this love? They're simply acknowledging it's already here as the fabric of creation. And so, beautiful to be with you, Kyle. Was there anything else you wanted to add or share or correct?
Yeah, we watched this kind of funny movie, but there was this fake book this counselor in the movie wrote called Baby Steps. And so it does seem that like just taking baby steps here and there, like what is the next baby step? And not from a place of anxiety, but from a different place.
Yeah, Kyle, listen, I have no worry about you doing what you need to do to pay your bills, to go to work each day, to step into your new vocation. Like it's already happening, my friend. So you're making the baby steps. Can you trust in the process? Can you give it lots of time and space? And surrender. I want it. Surrender the future. Just forget about it. Be here now. We live in this beautiful place, my friend. You have a beautiful life. I'd like you to show up sometime and tell me, I'm really happy, Craig. I'm really happy here now. Yes, I am happiness. Happiness is my nature. Wasn't there a fellow that sung this song, Happy? Was it Pharrell? Is that who it was? Yeah, happy. Happy, just happy. Beingness is happiness. The future, Kyle, never comes. It never comes. And so I encourage you, forget about the future. Be here now. And of course, if you need to make a step, make a step. But let's not have anxiety about it. Let's not have fear about it. Let's not think too much about it. Let's just trust. It all works out in the end. And how often does it all work out? Every single time. for every single person. Just doesn't work out the way our mind thinks it's supposed to. that's the thing. That's the arrogance of humanity, as we think it's supposed to work out a certain way. But God's having it work out differently. And if we want to be awake, we come into alignment with the grace of God. And so, thank you, Kyle, so much for sharing it yourself. Yeah. Okay, well, let's do this. I want us to close down our eyes. I want you to hear this from my heart to yours. May peace be with you. And as I say this, I want you to say it back to me. May peace be with you. And I want us all to feel together as a Sangha how it feels to give each other peace in this moment. I give you peace. And so please join me in saying this out loud. I give you peace. To sharing this peace with the Sangha, sharing this peace with your family, sharing this peace with this world. And so, this Mass has ended. Let us go in peace. I'll see y'all next time. So lovely to be with y'all. Good night, everyone.